every week is a surprise.
Yeah.
Sometimes hospice says tables after this. Sometimes it knows. Oh my God. Flex it, rework it. We have to always put it back because they always have these. It seems like there's
That's better than the last one.
yeah. That's too bad we don't have our. We were almost moved down here.
And we have a new banner.
Oh wait, I found it.
Well, let's
Found
hear
it.
it.
I knew I had one.
There. Thank you. I never got that.
Hello, everyone. I call this meeting to order. If anybody has a telephone that needs to be shut off or anything that makes noise, please do so at this time.
I make noise, should I read it?
Shut them off.
No, we'll let you stay, Irving. Your noise is good noise. It's good noise. I'm going to start with our missions today, our mission statement. The mission of Toastmasters is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every individual member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you. And now I would like to call up Jonathan Dunn for Lord and Pledge.
My fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, the thought for the day: if it doesn't nourish your soul, you might want to consider getting rid of it. Will you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to come to the front of the room, our president, Ms. Toni Gittles.
Welcome to the Central Florida Facilitators Toastmasters Club. We have the name Facilitators for 3 reasons. 1, we're sponsored by the Central Florida chapter of the American Society of Training and Development, the premier organization for professional facilitators. And a number of our charter members were members of that organization. 2, a good facilitator needs to be a strong communicator and an effective leader. And as you learned and are experiencing, Toastmasters is all about communication and leadership. 3, to facilitate means to make things simple and easy, and we hope that we'll be making things simple and easy for you this evening. We hope you have a good time, especially to our guests, and that the evening provides value for you as we all work through our goals. Welcome to our guests. Eugene, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been a Toastmaster for a little more than 3 years. I've really enjoyed working with people and helping them grow. It brings me a lot of satisfaction to see somebody that's scared or nervous energy and taking that energy and transmuting it into a really wonderful speech, seeing them grow along the way. And the reason I'm here is I want to let you know that I'm running for Division D governor, and if I can get your vote, I'd appreciate it.
Friend of CFF, Tim Rickey, welcome. What brings you here?
What brings me here? You guys are so
And did
much
you bring
fun.
a check?
Actually, I didn't bring a check when I was here. The first meeting Jessica had, but we had it at the golf place. And she'd asked me to be evaluated that night, so I've been kind of, once in a while I pop in, but usually there's food. I don't know what's going on.
I know, right?
No, actually, who's new to Toastmasters here in the last year or so? Okay. You can end up being a writer. You can end up working for Tony Robbins. That's what happened to me, so they'll keep it going.
Thanks. And former member, Irving Gasado.
I am happy to be here tonight. I am missing my other club meeting on the other side of the river. But I wanted to introduce Gene to some of the wonderful clubs in this area. And this being number one in my heart, I brought him here. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have a lot of business this evening, but there's something we would like to do right now. Mihaela Dumitrescu, come to the front. That's the fun part of being president. Thought I would review with you the officer slate so far. We have elections in 2 weeks. So far, running for the offices are President Gail Hill-Smith, Vice President of Education Julian Cotto, Vice President of Membership Kat Stodner, Vice President of Public Relations Stephen Morgan, Treasurer Lynn Ayers, Secretary Mickey D, and Sergeant at Arms is open. Any of you can run for any of the offices, even if somebody's already got their name in. We'll have speeches the last meeting this month, and we'll have the elections. We would like to find out who wants to be SAA. Who's your heir to the throne, honey?
It's gonna be Patty.
Patty, get her back. Get her.
She's not here. Let's give it to her.
Go find her. Okay. Our Toastmaster deliberately selected tonight's meeting theme this evening for many reasons. One of those reasons was to bring attention to the fact that this weekend is the District 84 Conference, where Toastmasters from North Central Florida throughout North Florida will gather to bear witness to some 20 phenomenal speakers. They will vie for the District 84 champion in either the Tabletopics contest or the International Speech Contest, and go to represent the district at the regional level. That would be for the International Speech Contest. Our Toastmaster, Gail Hill-Smith, will be attending the Saturday contest. She experienced some unforgettable Toastmaster moments at these contests. Is here tonight to share a few such moments in her Toastmaster tenure, which I believe covers 20 years. Give it up for advanced communicator Silver.
I like that applause. You know, it's the only place I go where I get applause. Toastmasters.
Don't get it at home.
That is true. Well, welcome this evening, everybody. And our guest, returning member, wish we weren't saying returning member, we wish we were saying member, but we understand. You can only put yourself in 2 places at no one time. With that said, we do have a couple of housekeeping items. Anyone who needs to use the restrooms, as you came in that front door, there's a restroom right to the left, right to the right for women. On the agenda, I asked our speakers, I gave them an opportunity. Do you, either of you, want to expand your speech time? If not, forever hold your peace, because our timer is going to go by what is on the agenda, unless you want to expand it. Meifa?
Can I have a more flexible?
Can you
More
have
flexible time?
Is that like anywhere under 30 minutes? How flexible, 30 minutes?
5 to 10 or whatever.
You want anywhere from 2 to 9 and 10?
Yeah, 2 to 9.
5 to 8.
8 to 10. Would you like 8 to 10?
No, okay. 5
You're
to 7.
good. 5 to 7. And you want it?
I'll take 8 to 10.
All right, we have a taker, 8 to 10. With that, just keep in mind then that that will adjust the times that you see on the agenda. And hopefully we'll have lots of good time for our table topics. This evening, as mentioned in my introduction, there have been many unforgettable Toastmaster moments in my 20-plus year as a Toastmaster. And I'm not going to get into all of them. I am going to highlight a few of them. But before I do that, I would like to have our functionaries tell us what they are going to be doing this evening, how they are playing a part in keeping this meeting on task. So our Wizard of Oz, Lynn Ayers, can you tell us what you're doing this evening?
My job is to keep track of audible clutches such as and double clutches, which is the repetition of a word while the speaker thinks of their next word. I will also note sentences strung together with bridge words like and or so. I will report at the end of the meeting where I noted any of these infractions. I will sound a buzzer when I hear any of these infractions. The buzzer is not to embarrass the speaker, only to give immediate feedback. It may also stimulate the ability to get past distractions that inevitably occur during a speech. Guests and members who have not yet given their icebreaker speech are not normally buzzed. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Now that our grammarian, Pat Stogner.
As grammarian, I have chosen the word of the day, which is petrified, which is on the blackboard on the side over there, which means to turn to stone, paralyzed with fear. I will keep track of those who use the word of the day. Those who have a chance to speak and do not use the word of the day will be fined 25 cents. Guests and members who have not yet given their icebreaker speech will not be fined. I will also listen for colorful imagery and exceptional use of vocabulary and grammar. At the end of the meeting, I will report on grammar usage and suggest where I see improvements can be made. A sentence for petrified, along with our topic today. I remember being totally petrified to get up to the lectern.
And our vote counter, Mickey.
Now that I got my badge, I should change my accent to As vote counter, I will pick up your ballots for best speaker, best Tabletopics speaker, best evaluator, and most input speaker. I will tell you the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. I will also pick up any comments you might have written for the speakers or any meeting participants and deliver the comment to the appropriate person. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
And now, on with our meeting. As Toni had mentioned in my introduction, I've been a Toastmaster on and off for about 20-some years. One of my unforgettable moments was the day that I had received my lapel membership pin. That was back in 1978, at which time I had joined with a Toastmaster club with my husband for two different reasons. He was very secure in his subject matter, very knowledgeable, very well-read, but could not talk to an audience. He could talk one-to-one or to a small crowd. I, on the other hand, having moved all over the States, some 25 times to be exact, I could talk to the walls. However, I didn't feel that I had the meat or the substance or the content. I was very much a social talker, a social gabber. That was my intention for joining Toastmasters. The development that came from participation was unbelievable. here I am, yes, 20 years later, but still, my first 4 years Toastmasters gave me the courage and this backbone, if you will, to be able to get up before all sorts of nonprofit groups or at the church or wherever and to speak. But then in 2003, when Tim Chastain said, wow, we're forming a club, would you like to come back? And I'm thinking, you know, I probably should, because though I was speaking in front of the public and I was asked to be a speaker because I had substance, I had developed the content that I went to Toastmasters for, but I was very rusty in my delivery and my techniques. So coming back here to the club, now going on, well, we're celebrating our 10th year. I have just benefited so much from that. One memorable thing in my development, I had not been to a conference, a district conference that whole time. So in 2004, I attended my first, it was District 47 at the time, conference. I decided I'm going to participate in some form or fashion. I signed up to become a Toastmasters in tune. In other words, we were singing. They didn't want me on that group. And fortunately, we had the likes of Tim Rickey, Stephen, Morgan, Susan.
No.
Not yet.
She wasn't
Not
here.
yet. Jessica, you weren't, okay. So 2 others were on there, and these guys could sing, and they just drowned me. But what it did, and again, it gave me a little courage just by participating to get up there with this group of Toastmasters. They didn't critique me. They just put a bag over my head. But it was a learning experience, an unforgettable moment in my growth. I would like to introduce our first speaker this evening. Possibly he will be sharing or giving us a glimpse of maybe some unforgettable moments. Feng Shui is a very old Chinese culture using the laws of both heaven and earth to help one orient his house or tomb to improve life by receiving positive energy. Meifa went back to China for 4 weeks recently. He was brainwashed, he says, by hearing and seeing so many Feng Shui-related conflicts among neighbors in his hometown. He was puzzled about why people were becoming more and more obsessed with Feng Shui as they became richer. In his speech, Meifa is going to use a silly Feng Shui story between his sister and his neighbor. Join me in helping welcome Meifa Chen.
This is my house. I can build it as high as I want. No, you cannot. Because your house will be too high, you will be blocked by people trade. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and I guess this is a true story. I was back in China for 4 weeks, and I dealt with a lot of similar stories. The situation was this. This is my sister's old house, and they are just demolishing and build a new house. So they are building, they have complete 2 floors, first floor, second floor. In China, in the countryside, they usually leave the rooftop open for drying goods, drying things, clothes, and rices. So there must be a staircase, right? So they have to cover the staircase. The staircase makes this house look like 3 floors, three floors high. But on this side, right here, okay, is a graveyard. It's somebody's graveyard belonging to the neighbors. And the neighbor says, okay, when my sister sister's house is the height will block the Feng Shui of this graveyard. Is that ridiculous? But there are many this type of stories in China. When my brother-in-law was building the cover for the staircase, and the neighbors gathered 5 guys to stop him. There were almost a physical confrontation. And luckily, my sister called me. My sister said, "Hey brother, we are in this situation, we need your help." Then I talked to my sister. I say, "Don't do anything. Just keep quiet, don't fight with them, because you have fewer people than them." Then the next day, I went to the town government. I tried to seek help for them. I talked to the officers. I say, "I need your help. Here's the situation." I also talked to a lot of my friends. They are police, they are officers, they are business people. Very funny. This is beyond your imagination. The conclusion I got was this: the law will not help, the government will not help, fist will help. Okay. And the relationship will help. If you know something, if you know someone who is really powerful, who is the head of the government, so they can force things in. They can do whatever they can do. And also depending on whether you are afraid of petrified. That means if you are not afraid of dying, that means people may be afraid of you. Then you can push your ways. This is not a singular story, my sister's story. There are many similar stories like this in China. They are happening. I'm very sure there are more to come. And all those stories, the central piece of them is Feng Shui. Say somebody is doing something, somebody says, "No, what you're doing will cause damage to my Feng Shui." Okay, now the question is, what is Feng Shui? How many of you have heard about Feng Shui? Excellent. We have common ground. Feng Shui is a science or art developed over the 5,000 years in China. So it's quite old. And it involves a huge body of knowledge that reveals how you choose a site to build a house, how to build your door, your gate, even in the club, where to put your laptop, where the president should sit in order to get more members for us. So this is about Feng Shui. The Feng Shui in China means a lot more than the Feng Shui in US, than the Feng Shui you could find on the internet. It's just unbelievable. It involves almost anything. It not only involves you, it involves your children, your grandchildren, maybe 100 generations later. It's just unbelievable. You know, Feng Shui, there are 2 Chinese characters, right? One, first, Feng. The second, Shui. Feng means air, wind. Shui means water. You know, air and water are the 2 critical substances we have to have in order to survive, right? If you have good Feng Shui, that means you have good luck, you have good health. If you have bad Feng Shui, that means you have bad luck. So if your Feng Shui is blocked by someone else's Feng Shui, that means your family may be in trouble. So that's why they are all fighting for that. I'm not a true believer of Feng Shui. I'm just not sure. But Feng Shui to me may not be a bad thing. But the problem right now is many people who call themselves Feng Shui experts or Feng Shui masters. They are not. You know why? Because they may only were in school for 5 years. I was in school for 23 years. There's still a lot of books I cannot understand. So how could they understand the obtuse of the theory of Feng Shui? There's no way. If you really find the books, there are tons of them. And they were written in ancient Chinese. Very hard to believe. So that those people, they just mislead people. They cheat people. They're cheaters. In my sister's case, they say, okay, the house is here, we block this because the right-hand side is how that should not be allowed. Is that ridiculous? All right, next time, maybe I'm going to give you another speech about the principles of Feng Shui and the more stories about Feng Shui. My brother just told me tons of them. So I was really brainwashed. I was like, where I am now? Is that in China? I'm in US? I just feel confused. So Feng Shui is a wisdom or is nonsense? What is your opinion? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Meifa. We can have a minute on the clock, and you can write comments on the perforated slips at the tables. And our vote counter will come around and collect those written comments that you have to the speaker. Our next speaker indicates he is a hypnotist and has been for 25 years and has all sorts of experiences. As a certified hypnotist and certified instructor with the National Guild of Hypnotists, he has hypnotized many clients and students and developed a few ideas and techniques of his own. Tonight he's going to be demonstrating the instant induction. Pay close attention. And volunteers, get ready to be a part of the show with advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan.
When Benjamin Franklin debunked Anton Mesmer's animal magnetism, it changed what was at that time a very interesting and fun technique for many people into something that was socially unacceptable. It went hiding off into the shadows. The term hypnosis was actually coined by Baird specifically to disconnect from the term mesmerism, but yet we still were kept in the shadows for decades, a couple of centuries. There wasn't a whole lot going on in public, but you would see many on the streets, sideshows, performers who'd be doing hypnosis. And these sideshows aren't very fun if you're expecting everyone to stand there and wait for this slow run out induction. No one's going to hang around. It was the stage show performers who developed the techniques of the rapid induction and the instant induction, which have made the actual use of hypnosis a lot more effective and has helped us preserve a lot of time. Now, what I have described in the past has been a rapid induction, if not a contract, and what I would show now is how the instant induction works. Not something you typically do with a client first time in a client setting. Definitely something you would do on stage. It's very showy. And it can be very effective. In order to demonstrate it, I need someone to play volunteer. So the question is, who would like to be volunteer? Our Area 44 Governor, Gene Kowalski. Go ahead and take a seat. And I'm going to do the demonstration first, explanation second. I'll have, and as time allows, another demonstration maybe someone else would like to try. It's going to be simple here. I'm going to ask you just simply to put your hand on mine. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you to start pressing down as hard as you can on my hand. And while you're doing that, just look into my eyes, you just keep pressing down as hard as you can, okay? And first of all, got to make sure you got to have the contract. You willing to do this? Ready to go into hypnosis? Enjoy that part? Okay. Then just simply start pressing down as hard as you can on my hand, pressing down. Press it, press it. Wait, there's better, that's much better. Now look at my eyes, focusing everything you can. Focusing your attention here and pushing down as hard as you can. Focusing your attention here and sleep deeper, you go better. Go better, feel deeper, go deeper, go better, feel. Just let yourself relax and enjoy how it feels, because it's just a strange little sensation. When it goes that quick, it can go that quick. Now, whether you're not willing or not, that is the way the instant induction will work. How it works. Physiological shock is what it is. Now what it is, I was dividing the attention in between pressing down on the hand and trying to focus on the eyes. Now normally what I'm looking for at that time is also trying to see if the eyes start having the difficulty of fluttering because of the split in concentration. Conscious mind can only keep track of really one, possibly two things at a time. The moment I pull my hand away, the sudden loss of the resistance causes a physiological shock. It's small, but it distracts the conscious mind. Since it's not able to do everything it was doing, it cannot filter everything that you say. And in that moment, you can give a simple suggestion, of which typically in English we just say sleep. Hypnosis isn't sleep, we know that. But what it means is that we hear it, and the immediate physiological response is to bring the brain waves down. In that instant, what I want to do is to keep in that state. So the key part, this is the hardest part for any student, the key part to the instant induction is the moment you say sleep, you have to keep talking. Whatever you do, keep talking. You can say nonsense, but keep talking. Because what often happens, almost it's just every time, the first time someone tries it, they'll sit there and they'll be going, and they go, sleep. And they're not, and they've surprised themselves, is what happens. You're going to simply, the subject will drop down, but it will instantly bounce back up. The point of you keep talking is to keep them in that state, help them to go deeper from there. Now, the forehead was just simply partly to cover the eyes, because that helps remove distractions, and also a little bit of the rocking off will help. And what I usually say, deeper you go, better feel, deeper you go. And yes, it does work that fast. Next time you take a look at a stage show, watch what they're doing. They are doing this. Sometimes it's repeating it, we're doing it a few times. But that is the way it works. Now, any physiological shock can work. I wouldn't suggest walking up and punching somebody. It could work, but anything could work. My teacher liked to say if he knew a waiter was about to drop some plate of a whole bunch of plates at one time in a restaurant, he'd love to just jump up in the restaurant at that moment and yell, sleep, and have the restaurant in the trance real quick, because everyone would be startled. But that is the simplicity of how it works. It's very showy. One drawback. The conscious and subconscious mind, the subconscious can be distracted as well. And if somebody has been suppressing something subconsciously, in that same shock, that may erupt. Usually it's some past trauma or something. So if you do some sort of an instant induction and they start getting upset, something obviously doesn't seem right, it's probably because they're reliving some event in the past. You don't want to necessarily go there. What you want to do, though, is not make it worse. And if that happens, all you do is simply keep yourself calm. Don't change any tone of voice. Don't change any physical stimuli you've provided. And just simply repeat calmly, the scene fades and you tend to your breathing. Just keep repeating. And that until they stop. If you haven't done anything wrong, they haven't done anything wrong. That's just something that happened at that time. And it's a danger specific to the instant induction because of the shock. Now, did you get an interesting sensation when I went through that then?
Yes.
What did you experience?
I experienced the rapid heartbeat and then a slowing down of the rapid heartbeat.
Physiological changes come with it. So it can feel good though.
Yes. Oh, that's a good feeling.
Uh-huh. For those who have experienced before, very neat one. Would anyone else like to play guinea pig? Or just want to see this one do that again? You want to be guinea pig? Okay. Thank you. This is a little bit different in the sense of, do you think in English? No, this is key.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, if you think in English, then we're fine. If you thought in Chinese, I'd need to know that word because that would make the most sense. The simple process works the same way. Hand on, put your hand on mine. And what I'll do is I'll ask you to start pressing down as hard as you can, just follow instructions. You want to go into hypnosis, right? Okay. So you're going to be pressing down here and watching my eyes. So go ahead and start pressing as hard as you can on my hand as you're doing. You're focusing on my eyes. Imagine your eyes getting relaxed as you're pushing harder and harder. Imagine your eyes relaxing more and more as your eyes pushing harder and harder. Push harder. Come on, wimp. Push those things down as your eyes getting relaxed. Sleep deeper, you go better, feel better, feel deeper, you go better, feel deeper, go deeper, you go better, you feel. Just let yourself relax nice and flaccid and just simply relax and just enjoy the feeling of just how it feels to let your body mind relax and just let it all flow outward, letting yourself take each breath, going deeper and deeper and feeling how good it feels. And how good that might happen to feel, imagine what it might be. Is if you were to take your arm and imagine it coming up and imagine that I'll count from the 10 and becoming a complete steel bar, unbreakable, unbendable, and just imagine it to count from 1 to 10. 1, 2, deeper, and feeling it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you watch it. Feel how it feels. Can be stiff. And these are all shown. But when I touch your hand, you can just let it go completely limp and down. Thank you very much there. Yep. How'd it feel?
Feel relaxing.
Uh-huh. Neat sensation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for helping out there. The advantage in an office setting, your induction takes a minute, then you're out to actually doing real work. The advantage on stage, very showy. It can be very entertaining. Now you can do it, you don't have to do it that way. You can come up, shake somebody's hand, suddenly pull them off balance. Stay asleep at that moment. Any physiological shock will work. I'll come up to someone's ear and just go at the same moment. It's still a physiological shock. They don't know it's coming. I do. A few people already react. It can happen that way. Stage hypnotists often get a bad rep from the people who do some more clinical work. But I must remind everyone who's doing clinical work, without the stage hypnotists, you would not have any work, because hypnosis would have disappeared into the depths of history long ago. Their techniques are critical to what we do and how we do it. So make use of it and enjoy it, because even though we can do a lot of help for a lot of people, that doesn't mean we can't still have fun with it too. Madam Toastmaster.
I'm just wondering.
Sleep?
I was just wondering if I might be hypnotized here. I'd actually love to do that sometime. Get in a hypnotic trance. If we could have another minute on the clock, write comments for Stephen, what you thought of his delivery of his particular project. As you finish those, I had mentioned a few unforgettable Toastmaster moments of myself. Those gained from participation, those gained from raising my hand to volunteer, and all to gain the confidence and gain a stronger voice so that I could become a better communicator and a more effective leader. All of which is necessary in the tracks that Toastmasters has available for us in communication and in leadership. As mentioned in my introduction, I am very short of completing all required in both tracks, leadership and communication, to earn the DTM, the Distinguished Toastmaster. With that, I did not want to just share my unforgettable moments, and so I reached out into the Toastmaster community, contacting those that were not members of this club, because I wanted to share that I am not the only one that has petrifying moments or has these aha moments or humorous moments in our development. For example, this gentleman happens to be here. He is a distinguished Toastmaster, but he reflects back to his very first speech. It was my first speech. I was to do an icebreaker, but the Green Bay Packers were playing in the Super Bowl that weekend for the first time since 1967, and I delivered a speech entitled, "Are you ready for some football?" The story involved Dale Livingston, the field goal kicker for the Packers, and myself on how I affected the result of an NFL game. To my surprise, I won and did not read the notes from members until I got back to my office. Those little slips of paper blew me away. I knew I had found a new way back to the stage. That was Tim Rickey. Thank you for sharing your unforgettable moment. First speech, when was that? 1998? So, and here he is, a DTM. He's a professional speaker. Another unforgettable moment that I want to share with you before we bring up our Tabletopic master comes from our current Division D governor. She writes, "I gave a speech about my uncle. The setting was a family holiday dinner. At the end of the meeting, members kept coming up to me and telling me that they had an uncle, an aunt, a mother, a sister that they too could see in that story. It was at that moment when I realized the power that is in my story and the importance of telling my story, even when it is a difficult story. Stories are memorable and they change lives. People still talk about that story years later." That was Colette Clifton, if anybody knows Colette. So now we're going to experience some unforgettable moments with Tabletopics after we have our timers report and who qualifies for our best speaker.
Meifa was supposed to speak for 5 to 7 minutes, and he spoke for 7 minutes exactly, so he qualifies. And Stephen was 8 to 10 minutes, and he spoke for 10 minutes and 3 seconds, so he qualifies.
So vote for the individual who you felt delivered the most effective speech, and our vote counter will come around and collect that ballot. While you all are doing that, let me introduce our Tabletopic master this evening, who joined Toastmasters International over 11 years ago. She doesn't look that old, I know. But in 2003, she co-founded this club, Central Florida Facilitators, with her buddy, Tim Chastain. And is thrilled to have witnessed the magnificent growth of the club and its members. With all that time participating in Toastmasters and numerous Toastmaster experiences, from speech first to events, Jessica has had many unforgettable Toastmaster moments and asks, how about you? With the Tabletopic theme of Unforgettable Toastmaster Moment, please welcome DTM Jessica.
Gail, I thought for a moment there we were going to have a forgettable moment without having our timer report. So nice catch. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, we're here. We're creating those unforgettable moments, so let's do that.
I'm excited to hear from all of our folks here this evening about their unforgettable Toastmasters experiences. I realized by putting together these Toastmaster Tabletopics that it actually inspired me. I'm probably going to do a speech on that. I think it's a great way, and in fact, maybe that's something I'll do for the anniversary banquet, so it'll pull it all together. So y'all are inspiring me, so I want to hear these answers because I might steal them. So let's start off. I think everyone here has experienced Toastmasters, table topics, so we're going to go with it. So of course, for many of us, the most petrifying part of Toastmasters is table topics, and especially your very first table topic. And I bet you every person in this room can remember their first table topic. Lynn, what was your first table topic? What was that experience like?
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master. I cannot remember my first Tabletopics topic, but I can remember my first unforgettable Toastmaster experience. And that has to be, of course, when I gave my first speech, Icebreaker. It took me 5 months to get up enough nerve to get in front of every one of you and speak. And I was petrified. But I did it. And to my surprise, I won 3 awards. Most Improved, Best Speaker, and President's Award, I believe, were 3. So I walked away with 3 awards that night, and I was very proud. I've had a lot of unforgettable moments since joining Toastmasters in May of 2012. And another unforgettable moment was the night of our banquet last year when I was presented the Jeannie Strauss Award. Was that her name? Jeannie. Yes. I was so proud. I was not expecting that. I was just very honored, and I never will forget that. I didn't think I deserved it, but it was unforgettable moment. And I've had many, every time I come to a meeting, I have a pleasant experience. It's just every meeting to me is unforgettable. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
I would bet that most of us also remember the first visit we ever made to a Toastmasters meeting. Tell us about your very first visit and what you experienced, Toastmaster Bro.
Thank you, Madam Tabletop Mom. Thank you. My first Toastmasters meeting wasn't the most pleasant one because I didn't know what was happening. I went in, I was there on time. I went in and everyone was very pleasant. They all greeted me and everything. But once we got in and started actually having the meeting, there were people popping up having speeches. I was kind of like shocked that someone was up speaking about something, had no idea why. And then when they had the table topics, they explained it a little bit, but for the most part, I didn't know what was going on. That was my first experience. My second experience was here. I had an agenda. I knew what was happening. I knew what the odd counter was. I knew all the different functionary roles. And at the end, they gave me this really nice packet of information and gave me everything that I needed to know about Toastmasters. So I think I was pretty much won over at that point, but I had already decided I was going to check out one more place. And still, no one compared to this Toastmasters. So my first experience, it didn't scare me away. I knew there was more out there to see, and I had seen on the site to check them all out. So I did check out the ones in my area. And so luckily, it didn't deter me because I came back, and now I've joined this great group.
That was not a plant, honestly.
Weren't you sitting next to her?
Look at my sheet.
We'll discuss payment later.
We've heard many speeches in Toastmasters clubs, especially especially those who are more experienced. And we've given many speeches. What's the favorite speech that you've ever given at a Toastmasters meeting? Toastmaster Pat Stockner.
I've met Toastmasters. My favorite speech. Actually, I would have to probably say, I really enjoyed and had the most fun doing my last speech, which was kind of about my family. It's quite entertaining for me. Other than that one, I really enjoyed, and the reason I had come to Toastmasters was to be able to speak better at the American Cancer Society and speak about what is really important to me. It's a great mission. I want to put it out there. Also, now I tend to improve upon it and go through the second manual that I have and actually do the same speeches, because as I look back over them, wow, there's lots of room for improvement. But I've enjoyed every one of my speeches. I've enjoyed the club. Just like Roland just said, this is a great club. I got to the right place. I also have gone through several other clubs. I don't know how happy this will make you, but I am now. Oh, it is good for our club, because now I will be next week a dual member to the Spanish speaking club. I can understand just a little bit. I want to be able to understand a whole lot more. I don't think anybody wants to hear me speak, because basically what I know in Spanish is the bad words, so I will keep that to myself. And so I just love Toastmasters. I enjoy it all. Thank you.
And as I mentioned, we've all heard a lot of different speeches as part of Toastmasters. I know this is going to be a hard question for this person because there's so many to choose from. But what's the favorite speech that you've ever heard at a Toastmasters meeting? Toastmaster Susan Morgan.
Toastmaster. The best speech I ever heard, well, I've been to a lot of the conferences, and those ones are great. When you get up to that level of district, international speech, or even the humorous speech, it's just hysterical. I'll have to go ahead and brag and say I think it's my husband's speech. That he went to District 4. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? I think that was an excellent speech. He nailed it at District. He didn't win. He came in second. But I think that that was his best speech that he'd ever given, and nailed it wonderfully well. As far as being able to say a whole bunch of other ones, any of the ones that I've heard at the conferences, they are all wonderful, and whether they're my favorite or not, it has to be my favorite Stevens, because it's personal. I know him. So I think that is my favorite speech that I've ever heard.
Speaking of conferences, there happens to be one this weekend, you may have heard. Some of us have been to many, some have never been to one. What's it like to go to conferences, and tell us about maybe some different ones that you've been to. Toastmaster Irving or so.
Come on, give it up. Ladies and gentlemen, being new to Toastmasters, I would know nothing about conferences. Is that something where you get together and have a drink or two and keep toasting through the night?
Some of us. It's part of it, yeah.
The joke is Jessica used Unforgettable, and I'm petrified because I can't even remember my name. However, going back a few years, 2008 to be exact, the country of South Korea decided to have a national conference, and our guest speaker was going to be Julian. And they came over and they gave presentations on how to be an impartial judge. I understood the judge part, I didn't understand the impartial. But it was our first contact with the real world of Toastmasters. Korea's kind of isolated. North Korea, to the north, seat to the south, seat to the west, seat to the east, and so we're isolated. So this was our first event. But not to be left alone, my favorite was actually the one afterwards. The VP of PR of Korea, all 6 of us, were planning an event, and we got the great news. There's nothing like great news. Tim Keck, a former international president, was coming to town. So we had a PR event with Tim Keck. I was one of the hosts. We got our big pictures in the paper. We ate, we drank, we be merry, and we got some publicity. That was my favorite conference. Love it.
Oh, the icebreaker. We're all terrified, petrified actually. Most are, there's a few that aren't. But nevertheless, most of us are. And it's an experience I think all of us remember as well. Tell us about your icebreaker, Toastmaster Eugene.
I remember going into my first club, West Aleutian Toastmasters, and my knees were knocking. I was petrified. But I learned from the experience to transmute that nervous energy into a great speech. And once I got over the nervousness of thinking that everybody was watching me as they were, I got over it. I delivered a speech. When the green light came on, I ran to my seat and sat down. And something strange happened. They were applauding me. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't that good. But that's the wonderful thing about Toastmasters, the learning environment that is present for all of us. The encouragement to go on, to keep going, to me is great. And the more speeches you give, the better you get at it. And once you learn the techniques that Toastmasters teaches you, you become a much better speaker. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
You may have heard that Toastmasters like to party a little bit. We like to throw parties, banquets, anniversary events perhaps. Any kind of special Toastmaster event calls for a great party. You've been in Toastmasters for a while. What's a great Toastmaster event that you've experienced? Toastmaster Tim Rickey.
I think the regional conference, Gail alluded to it earlier. At that particular one, I had a student who was going for the World Championship. His name is James Webb, and I believe James was a member of this club for a while.
Yep.
I was also in the choir with Gail. I had to break away from the choir to go put on my Elvis suit because I was also Elvis in that show. And I was also on the door in case anybody tried to get in. It was a busy night. So it kept going. But the real problem came out, and I have a video of this, is Carl Ryder was the MC, and he was to introduce me as Elvis. He said, Elvis is in the building. The music's supposed to start. Now, I did go down and do a mic check earlier in the day, so I had all my settings. 3 times, no music for me to come in. So finally, the 4th, I just came in, and I looked over, and he kind of woke up. I think he'd had a few of those drinks. I looked at him, so he turns the music. Now I can hear the music, but it's so loud, I had to tune it down a little bit and go up to the microphone and do the first lyric. I was doing the trilogy. Nothing. The mic is off. So I looked him over again, and he turns the mic off, but now he's got it so loud, the only thing you can hear is my voice. So I looked at him again. Meanwhile, I'm doing a few moves to entertain the room until he gets straight. And then I'm still okay. And then finally, he's got it at the right point. He turns it down so low, but he didn't turn it off. He turned it down. So I told him to bring it up. Now I had to find my place in the music as well. So it was a really big challenge. And by the way, James Webb did win that regional, came in 3rd in the world a few weeks after that. So that was, wow, What a regional. That was the last time we had a regional. It was a great time. Thank you.
We all started out as guests at a Toastmaster meeting. We have a guest that didn't get to introduce himself tonight. So as is a table topic, would you like to stand and tell us your name and how you came to be here? I know you're a friend of Gail's. And how you got to be a guest there?
My name's James King. I was here probably a couple of months ago as a guest of Gail. She asked me if I would like to come again tonight. I thought it would be nice since she was at the helm, so to speak. And so I've kind of enjoyed the opportunity here to see what goes on in Toastmasters and may give it consideration at some point in the future.
Good answer.
Send him a note. One of the biggest milestones you ever have in your Toastmasters career is earning your Competent Communicator Award. What does that feel like, Toastmaster Mickey?
Every time you are out, Tabletopics master, at the very end when I say, okay, I think I'm,
Free.
free. You have to ask that last question, to ask me that last question. First of all, I forgot that I was supposed to get a badge tonight. And I was very, very, very surprised. Thank you very much. I feel more confident now, more shameless. I don't care what I say. I proved that I could do it, so here I am, ready to speak again. Not well prepared as usual, Toni knows. In spite of her health, it didn't go well, but that's fine. We keep trying, we keep doing it. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to answer a few other questions, like about the worst moment of my life, about being a Toastmaster, about my first impression. It was really, really bad, I have to say. I remember that it was my third speech, I think, when I started to cry. I used to cry a lot in class. And the speech was about some very good friends of mine. And I got so impressed with remembering them that I started to cry. The problem is when I start to cry, I cannot stop. So for 5 to 7 minutes, even though it was a very good topic, I mean, good thing, not bad thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Mickey, I'll never skip you. Thank you for not crying all the way through. We're just saving the best for last. And that is an unforgettable Toastmaster moment for all of us. May we have a timer's report, Madam Timer.
Okay, Lynn spoke about the first table topic she ever gave and an unforgettable moment for a 1 minute and 42 seconds. Rolanda spoke about her first time at Toastmasters for 1 minute and 29 seconds. She qualifies. Kat Stogner spoke about her favorite speech for 1 minute and 33 seconds. And I spoke about my husband's speech is my favorite, 1 minute and 11 seconds. Irving spoke about his first conference in Korea for 1 minute and 49 seconds. Eugene spoke about his icebreaker speech for 1 minute and 15 seconds. Tim Rickey spoke about the regional conference for 1 minute and 46 seconds. Dennis, you spoke about why you were here for 33 seconds. He does not qualify. And Mickey talked about about getting her CC for 1 minute and 43 seconds. so she qualifies as well. So everyone but Dennis qualifies.
Please take a moment and vote for your favorite table topic response for this evening, and our vote counter will be around to pick up those votes. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of you for being such a big part of my Toastmasters experience and being a part of so many unforgettable Toastmaster moments. It's really been an honor being in the club with all of you. Madam Toastmaster.
I had to cast my vote. It counts. Thank you, Jessica. I hope that helped everybody to somewhat go down memory lane. Their first experiences in whatever area, whether it was the club, whether it was at the area level, the division level, or at the district level. It's just fun. And as you have garnered, Toastmasters does not have an end date. You can go on and on and on with your Toastmasters life. I am a case in point. I mentioned that we have Toastmasters obviously at the club level. At the next area, next level, which is the area, the level after that is division, district, and so on. And our education and our participation doesn't end just here. It actually goes on even to the leisure of your own couch. Hopefully, everybody is receiving their Toastmaster magazine, except maybe Rolando as a new member. The articles, the education that comes from these magazines, you will never get at the club level. You get tips. This one happens to be lighten up your speech. You can get into evaluations. You can get into more effective speech writing. And the magazine even highlights, in this particular case, women who have changed the world. And why was that? Speeches that these prominent women gave became game-changing moments in public speaking because of one factor, the courage of the speaker and to speak. And that's what we are about. The next portion of our meeting is our evaluations. This is another learning component where our speakers particularly benefit from the verbal evaluation that their evaluators will be giving. Toni Gittles has been a member of the Central Florida Facilitators since 2004. She was previously a Toastmaster in 1997 in the Chicago area. Her most memorable Toastmaster moment was witnessing her mother at the age of 89 giving her icebreaker speech. The laughter and sadness that the members experienced and the standing ovation by the members after the speech. Her mother had been hospitalized with a right facial paralysis just 3 weeks previously, and despite some difficulty speaking and a definite drooping right side of her face, she gave her speech as scheduled. Help me welcome our general evaluator this evening, DTM Toni Gittles.
See there? That's how you get your most memorable moment in. The evaluation portion of the meeting has several purposes. Obviously, it gives the speakers feedback on their presentation, but if you who are not the speaker have been listening, practicing your active listening skills, you will also benefit from the evaluation and can use that information in your future speeches. Second, it makes us aware of the things that we do well, we get to hear about our strengths, which we often deny, and we get to hear about the areas where we can be more effective. Finally, it helps us learn and practice the leadership skills of active listening, critical thinking, giving feedback, and I think several others. The evaluator's task really is a multifunctional task. The evaluators will present their reports in 2 to 3 minutes. And we'll get right to the evaluations. Julian Kodo has been a member of the Central Florida Facilitators for 2 years. He has taken Toastmasters' scenic route. He earned his Competent Toastmaster Award 20 years ago, and he is just now turning the corner on the Advanced Communicator Bronze Award. Yay! Mastering evaluations and beating Toastmaster Jessica Guthrie in an evaluation contest is his life's goal. Ain't gonna happen. Please help me welcome, evaluating the speech of Meifa, Julian Kodo.
Feng Shui or Feng Shui? What a bunch of hooey! Meifa, what I love about you is that you are such a confident speaker. Now, this evening, Meifa's speech was about vocal variety. But reading the manual, he was really supposed to cover the gamut of every skill in Toastmasters, from vocal variety to organization, word usage, expression, body language. It was a tough speech. But you're so confident. You come up here without a lectern, without notes. You have great mastery of the stage. You moved around like a pro. And you brought us a topic that a lot of us don't know about, and actually shared with us part of your Chinese culture, which as Westerners we don't understand a lot. And Feng Shui, I really didn't understand where it came from, and you clarified that very well. I think your confidence really takes you over the top in your speaking. I've got some, since this was about vocal variety, or I have some comments on your vocal variety and your organization. When you started with a story about, this is my house and I want to build it, and then no. And it was all the same tone, the same energy. There was no change. Now, you delivered it in a way that got our attention. It was loud, it was energetic, it was expressive. But when you finished the first thought, which was, this was my house, if you would have paused, and then you say, no. You don't have to yell to be affirmative. You could have come with a different energy and said, no, this is Feng Shui. It doesn't fit the picture. Or something like that. Also, some of the stories that you told us, it would have been more entertaining if you would have, instead of telling us the story, you would have reenacted the story to some degree, between the altercation of your brother-in-law and their neighbors, so on and so forth. You could have developed that with some dialogue and some expressive nature between the participants. And I just love the speech and hope to hear you again, Madam General Evaluator.
Yes. Thank you, Julian. Here to evaluate the speech Oh, Meifa Chen. Oh, not Meifa Chen. Stephen.
Stephen Chen.
Stephen Chen. His confident communicator, our very own galvanizing servant leader, Jonathan Duff.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and especially Stephen. Starting off with the incredibly well-scripted introduction by Gail, something that it was brilliant. I knew exactly why I was meant to be listening to you and that you were qualified to speak on the topic that you were speaking on. It was wonderful. Your opening, combining Ben Franklin, who automatically got my ears to perk up. You have a voluminous vocabulary that, admittedly, I'm jealous of. You had this beautiful pause when you came up here. You created an aura of mystery, and that left us all really wanting to know what you were going to be doing next. Quite frankly, it was about my favorite speech opening I've seen in there so far. It was so good, though, that there was part of me that I was wanting to know why you were doing it. And I was so mesmerized by what you were saying, I may have admittedly missed it. But I really wanted to know the clinical function of doing what you do. Your eye contact, your gestures, your expressions. The greatest compliment that I can give you is I always am taking notes when you're doing it. It was a standard of excellence. The last time you spoke, I believe I was the one that evaluated you, and I noticed that you had this thing every once in a while where you breathe in through your nose. And you had done it several times in your last speech. I noticed that you listened to the coaching because you only did it one time. You had a very hard time finding anything in that area. You did it one time, you made drastic improvements. You had strong vocal variety, clear volume. Your pitch went along with what you were doing. You could tell you're an expert. It was very evident. Occasionally, though, you look down and you rock back and your voice just tails off. You always pick it up really quickly, too, when that happens. And it was really only one time that I noticed it tonight. You clearly explained a process, and you enhanced it through your demonstration. It was passionate. It built a bridge to the rest of your speech. You had something for the auditory learners, the kinesthetic learners, the visual learners, all in that demonstration. I absolutely loved it. Your closing gave further history into the different types of hypnotists. You classified them. Stephen, to use the word of the day, you petrified me. I think you hypnotized me a little bit because I found myself tailing off. You really did. You petrified me, and I really was kind of bitter that I had to be evaluating you. Your speech, for me, I loved it. It allowed me to live my life in crescendo. I'm better off that I have seen that. Thank you, Stephen. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jonathan. Susan Morgan, can we have a timers report?
Sure can. Julian spoke for 3 minutes and 20 seconds, so he qualifies. And Jonathan spoke for 3 minutes and 17 seconds. He also qualifies. So both of our evaluators qualified tonight.
Please vote for the individual that you would like to see win Best Evaluator. And Nikki D, our vote counter, will be around to collect your ballots. A few comments about the meeting as a whole, and well, maybe we should let our questionnaire Okay. Oh, we've been here 10 years. Great. Remember everything. Eye counter. Who's our eye counter this evening? All right, Lynn. Lynn, please welcome Lynn.
very difficult tonight.
Yay.
But Gail, unfortunately, I did catch one off from you. But when it registered in my brain that I had actually heard correctly, it was too late for my hand to hit. I could not believe I had actually heard it. I myself, I believe I had at least 2 ahs, maybe more. It's hard to keep track when you're speaking. Pat, you had 1 ah and also 1 and so. Susan, 1 so and 1 and. Mickey, 3 ahs and 1 Julian, 2 ands in the same sentence. Oh, God. That's all I could catch.
Now, the reason I wanted to give my evaluation first was so I could use the word petrify in a sentence. I have to wait till after our grammarians report, and you'll get to hear my sentence. Thank
you, Madam General Evaluator. My first person that I have written down is Gail. She was the first to speak. And what I like that she said was she got her PID in 1978, and then 20 years later, here she is. I'm a case in point, she said. Meifa, you went to China to work on your New York accent, I hear.
To teach him at New York.
You said that just now. I'm not a full believer, but who knows? Stephen, I didn't write anything down for you. Oh, yes, I did. It says, we help people, and we have fun with it, too. So there's this hypnotism. Lynn, every meeting has a pleasant experience. That was very nice. Rolanda, I really liked that nice packet of info, and I was won over. No one compares to this Toastmaster group. Susan, I got you on those ones. Irving, nothing like good news. I agree. Mickey, I don't care what I say, because I can do it, and I cried for 5 to 7 minutes. The people that used the word of the day was Gail, Meifa, Jessica, Lynn, Irving, Eugene, Jonathan, and Toni. The rest of you guys owe me a quarter. A quarter. Quarter. They tell me I have a Chinese accent.
One thing that can petrify, here comes, a new Toastmaster, other than the icebreaker, and answering a table topics, is the first time they give an evaluation. Not so for our 2 evaluators this evening. They seem to thrive and love it. How they organize their plots in such a short time and present such a well-coordinated and very self-expressed presentation of the speech with both strengths and areas to be more effective. You amaze me. So thank you for that evaluation. I love learning from the evaluators, and I love listening to both of you. There's just always something I don't get or wouldn't have said. Another thing I liked about the meeting were the introductions. They make the meeting more interesting, and it's part of your preparation for being a speaker somewhere else, to gain the audience's attention and have them want to listen to you. I like that a lot of people tied it into the theme. I've been attending, as you know, Lynn's corporate club meeting, and they do so well with the introductions. It's very impressive, I think, to guess, because it sets the stage for what you're going to do next, but it's also very professional. It shows preparation. And I know some of you do it at the last minute, but it's still good. It's still a good job. Our Tabletopics master, I have to congratulate you on a job well done, and including both our guests and the members that didn't have large speaking roles. particularly that you called on Dennis. It was so appropriate. And what I love about Jessica is how everything flows. There's a flow to you being up here.
Tabletopics Feng Shui?
Yes, there's some feng shui you have. Please bless us with it. But you do move seamlessly into the next question, calling on someone, especially how, I was very happy that you brought Dennis in, because I was thinking, we need to know who this person is. So, and that can be done at any time during the meeting. It can be done by the Toastmaster, by the president. Thank you for picking up on that. I just thought that was great. Concrete suggestions. Charlie, that's our banner. Boy, did we return? I know he had good intentions. He was going to put some more ribbons on it. Anybody who has any influence over Charlie, my calls didn't work, so. He did say he wasn't feeling well. Not a good excuse.
But don't we need that for a conference?
Yes, we
Then
do.
we had a lump.
Yes.
I'll call him.
I'm sure. Thank you,
I'll
Jessica.
try,
I tried to help. I tried to be helpful there. I like the fact that we had guests. Thank you, Irving, for coming. Thank you for inviting someone to come with you, Tim. Come more often, please. Bring your checkbook.
She said that 3 times.
I'm not going to quit. I love that. And that you called on our guests was great because we got to know them. You know, so other than sitting through a whole meeting and we don't find out anything about you, I thought it was great. So thanks for that. I don't have any other suggestions. I think, except to continue the things that were well done in this meeting. And I'm pulling a Marco Rubio again. Got this problem. Okay. Okay, evaluation is complete. Okay, Madam President, it's your turn. Thank you. Gail wants to know how I'm feeling today. I have no idea. But we're going to get through this. As of today, although it does not show it on the TI website, we are President's Distinguished. Yes! We are 9 out of 10, and I think within the next 24 hours, Mickey, Lynn, we will be 10 for 10 points. Congratulations.
Yes.
And standing up giving speeches, obviously. You have a handout, most of you have a handout at the table that talks about 2 events that we're looking forward to in June. The awards banquet and installation of officers is Wednesday. Oh yes, thank you, Stephen. See, I need your help. Let's vote for the most improved Toastmaster. It can be anyone in the room. And if you've been here and you've seen them before and you'd like to put their name down, go right ahead. Thank you. And Nikki will perform her last duty. I think I sent an email last night with the chair people. Oh, and you have it down there. Well, I sent that in an email. Yep, the top. Under the banquet. I don't know mine. Yeah. Most of you have been to a banquet before. It's our end of the 6-month term where we give awards, similar that we do every meeting, but there's a few additional awards that we give out. We'd like to have a special party to do that. As well, we will be electing officers at the end of May, and we will have our installation of officers at that event. The outgoing president, myself, and incoming president, will be giving a speech as well. And there will be food. And we will be here. So you will get more information about that. However, we're going to tone it down a little bit. It's not going to be as much with the decorations and a lot of food, but it will be a nice event. Because we are also planning a second event, which is our 10th anniversary party. We need to discuss the dates still. Last week I asked the group if they wanted it Wednesday night or the Sunday. It was kind of half and half. So, Jessica, do you have some information that you can provide that we can either discuss or a decision needs to be made? Just update, where are we?
Probably need to meet with the committee to talk about it, but
Okay.
the way I'm leaning.
Okay, that's what I'm
All about
asking.
me. The way I'm leaning is our best opportunity is actually to hold it at a location that actually already has food and everything all set up. And most likely, and the best rates we can get is actually if we do hold it on Sunday afternoon. So most likely we are doing it on June 30th, which is, dang it, I got all the way through the meeting without one. June 30th is our actual 10-year anniversary day. We chartered on June 30th, 2003. So that June 30th will actually be our actual 10-year anniversary. Should be a ton of fun. I'm pretty excited to kind of get the committee in line, and we'll announce something fabulous at the end of the day, I'm sure. How's that? Good? We're good? All right. Madam President. We're good. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any input about that you would like the officers to know before we go into our meeting? You gotta be happy. Yes, yeah.
I'm just curious, those that are hesitant in going somewhere, possibly paying $10, $15 for food, if you have a strong opposition to that, voice yourself, let us know. As you know, we don't go to restaurants. This is free. So $10, $15 for a special event, I don't think is unruly, my opinion.
Yes, Julian.
Okay, those of you that are anxious to leave the meeting quickly, I'm the treasurer, and my job is to pounce on you and get your quarter, your dime, your dollar, whatever it takes, and I've got my sergeant at arms from New Jersey.
What an insult!
That was a strong. She was a strong arm for the Gotti family. Let me tell you.
That was New York.
She
Maybe
doesn't
often it's
forget
the
it.
gallows. My family.
Hey, if you didn't use the word of the day, or you have an end or so, you owe me some money
Yeah, I'm
Thank
caught
you,
up.
Julian.
to pay for the banquet.
One comment about the banquet and the meeting room. A lot of clubs have to pay a weekly fee to use a location to go to their meeting room. It can be between $7 and $12 typically. So we haven't paid that for this 6 months. So I say we have a big party, put all that money in a pot. No, it's one reason that we can have a nice celebration for here. So yes, just trying to sway the results. All right, Lynn, next week's agenda.
We have a very fun meeting planned next week. Our theme will be beach party. So come dressed in your beach attire, but no bathing suits, please.
Itsy bitsy teeny
Can't wear my
weeny
speedo.
yellow polka dot.
I've got
You're professional beach wear, right?
You're
conservative beach wear.
Conservative.
Our fountain pledge will be Jonathan Dunn, Toastmaster Jessica Guthrie. We have 3 speakers. Carlos, which is Jessica's friend, will be visiting. He would like to speak. Toni will be speaking. Jonathan will be speaking. Roe will be a backup speaker. I will be Tabletopics Master, Mickey General Evaluator, Meifa, Pat, and Stephen Evaluators. I need an officer for the educational moment.
Yeah.
Probably should be mine.
Okay,
I'll do
Stephen,
it.
yeah.
I think I was actually supposed to do mine.
Yeah. Oh, oops. Oops, we ran out of time anyway.
All right, Stephen, would you
Stephen,
like to
thank
do
you.
it? for us?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Timer, eye counter, grammarian, vote counter. Anyone? Susan? Gail? Great. Anyone else? Susan, Gail? Anyone else I haven't called? Raise your hand. If you're not on the schedule for next week, raise your hand.
You are now.
Do you want to have a speaking slot?
At some point, I'll do the icebreaker.
Okay.
I could do both counter.
All right.
Great, thanks.
Okay. She is on here. Also, Roland has signed up for our icebreaker for the 29th.
Okay.
Okay.
If she doesn't take a spot next week.
If she doesn't.
Yeah, well, that was my question. It's not urgent, but okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
I just have a couple, I'll be real quick
Okay.
announcements. Dang it, two. Sorry to get my dime out. Carlos Cueto, one of our guest speakers next week, is a friend of mine, personal family friend, and he is a Toastmaster from Lima, Peru. And many of you may remember, he came a couple years ago and gave a speech and actually came and brought prizes and such from this club, and that was really exciting. So he's working on a speech, and he specifically asked if he could come and speak. So hopefully y'all will be here to support him. He's a great guy. And I'm not just saying that. June 3rd. So I had my choir performance last week. I think I was telling you all about that, and that's why I wasn't here. And I, being the little Toastmaster promoter that I am, was standing next to a lady talking about Toastmasters, and she coaches kids for speech contests within some organization. And they are preparing for some big competition, and they're setting up some prep time to get feedback for their speakers. It's going to be on June 3rd. It's a Monday evening. They actually worked around my schedule to make that happen. But if anyone would like to join me to just give these folks feedback, you don't have to do formal evaluations. You don't have to do it 2 to 3 minutes. In fact, they want as much feedback as you can get it, as much practice as they can get. So it's June 3rd. If you're interested, let me know, and I'll pass your name along.
Could you send an email to us?
Teenagers, they're like high school kids.
With time, place, and date. and all
I
that.
can't. I actually don't have anything other than from speaking with her, but I'll get that information. If you're interested, I'll make sure you get.
Or give us the contact.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
okay, you ready for awards? All right. Most Improved Award. Rolanda. Tim Chastain Award this evening for an individual that made a huge contribution to the meeting. I think Jessica. Best Table Topics. Rolanda. Julian. Best Speaker. Stephen Morgan.
Stephen, we wanted to know if we were all hypnotized.
Oh dear.
How much do you remember?
And Jessica, would you like to meet with us, the officers, this evening briefly? To the parking lot, where there will be food and drinks. Meeting is adjourned. See you next week.
Thank you for helping out.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, isn't it? Forgetting. I know, right?
Oh,
They were telling me that they can't
oh, good.
My other meeting is Wednesday nights too. I may come like all the time to play my that is so far away in my life. I'm trying to get these.
I'm good, and you have somebody, it's just